Got a question from Victor, who last week he commented on the video that I did where I was showing you guys a position that I like to use for passing against younger athletic training partners. Again, I'm getting close to 40 now, and so I'm trying to work to tighten my game up and slow it down a little bit so I don't have to work so hard. And again, one of his questions was about the reverse half guard position that I got to originally, where I was showing how to set up kimuras. His thing was, he said, it looks like your colleague can just simply bridge and sweep you from half guard while he has the underhook. So what I'm gonna do, Victor, is I'm gonna show you how to stop that position. And also, if you guys wanna learn a little bit more about how to shut down someone's fast moving mobile game using this half guard position, then I'll show you the key points about how to add pressure, how to trap their arms so you can set up kimuras and limit their abilities, and also how to place your hips so you can basically control their legs and add a lot of pressure. So with that said, this is my lovely assistant, Mr. Adam Wilson. Let's jump into it. All right, guys, so let's take a look at this position. So last week, I was talking about where they get the underhook here, and then I was working to go for kimura, switch in, and get to this chest-to-chest positions. Again, to slow down my younger, more athletic training partners, some of the purple, brown, and black belts. So again, the question came up about whether or not Adam could just bridge over and knock me down. And so if you don't do this position right, this reverse half guard position, absolutely. A lot of times what will happen is if that does happen, your hips are gonna be sitting on the ground. Your arm will be a little bit too high where they'll be able to use this arm. We'll talk about how to disable this arm and actually how to put good pressure in here. And then they'll bridge up. And right now, if I sit here like this, if Adam speaks, how do you feel, Adam?
Adam.
There's no, like, you can hear in his voice, there's no like labored breathing, there's no tension, right? So right now, if he bridges into me, he has a very good chance of knocking me off balance. So what we've got to do is we've got to change a few things. So what I'll do is I'll show you first on this side how we're going to disable this arm to set it up for kimuras or also to get the underhook. And then I'll show you how to position your hips down here so that we also put a lot of pressure on the person and stay active at all times. And then we'll talk about the actual pressure on the body. So first things first, when we're in this position, I don't want my arm to be back here. What this does is if my arm's like anywhere close to the shoulder, his arm has a lot of range of motion, a lot of mobility, and it can get way up in here, up into my armpit, or in some cases, even up in here, my face, right? So what I want to do to disable that is when I'm shooting across, so if he gets an underhook here, when I do my hip switch, I want my arm down here. So you can't see it because he's got his gi on, but his elbow is right here. And again, shameless plug, in my arms race series, I talk about this, and in the videos that I've shared about the arm scoop position, I talk about this idea on the channel as well. But getting here like this, the difference now is when Adam tries to move his arm, show me what his range of motion is very limited. This makes the kimura way easier, right? Because again, he doesn't have a lot of options. His hand can stay tucked to me, or it can try to reach out over here maybe. But again, any of this right here, I have options to where I can attack this and set up my figure four lock, right? Now, in doing this, I also place my pressure on the person in what I call the sweet spot. So again, if you've watched my channel for long enough, we've talked about the sweet spot before. Basically, if you basically chop his torso up into thirds, the middle third is where we're aiming to put a lot of pressure, okay? The rib cage tapers down here for him to take a big full breath, you know, that lower part of his chest and the lungs has to expand. Well, if that's where I'm putting all my weight here, okay, one, there's no rib cage, there's no strong abdominal muscles to block it. It's a little bit more sensitive, and if he tries to take that deep breath, it's a lot tougher. So where I'm aiming to get my body is I'm taking like the side of my body, my side body, ribs, all that stuff, and I'm trying to place it right here. And that is a little bit easier to do if my arm comes down. So if I'm up here, it's really hard to put my weight down there anyway. I want to get down here low, and again, right there, you can hear the air compress, and I'm here on the arm. And notice also too, I don't have my elbow touching the ground. Okay, my elbow's off the ground. This is important because again, if my elbow's sitting on the ground, what does that mean? It means there's pressure on the mat that's not on Adam. So if I'm gonna slow him down, I've got to get that arm scooped up in here, and now I'm staying low. And notice what happens with my upper body. I'm leaning forward, staying heavy. If he bridges now, I move very little. It's a great position to lock up. A lot of wrestlers tend to naturally favor this. And again, this is one of the positions that I use when I have someone, I use this one a lot in competition to deal with people that have very mobile guards that want to make me work too much and make me move too much. Now let's take a look at the other side so you can see the hips. So again, we can initiate this if he's got a frame and go across, or if he gets the underhook. The underhook is just a much more like dangerous option because a frame is like, it's a frame, whatever. He's pushing away, but this underhook here, this is where he starts to get action going from his half guard. So again, we switch in here. Now, notice what my legs did. I didn't just like sit to my hip here, okay? In fact, my hip really isn't touching the ground. As I make my switch here, my toes are active. This knee's on the ground, my hip is not on the ground, and this leg does a leg curl here. My toes and my heel and my ankle down there are very close together, and then I'm in my position. I'm very compact. Again, what I'm doing by doing this is I'm compensating for the fact that his power is down here, so I'm basically loading myself up to limit that ability for him to drive. Because again, if he opens up his leg, this leg is being caught pretty tight, so he doesn't have the ability to drive on it, right? If I'm loose, that foot can post. That could be a problem, right? So again, by pulling this back here and staying tight, basically doing a little bit of a hamstring curl. If he tries to bridge up, super difficult. And again, we set up our kimuras, underhooks here, lots of options from the position. But again, that is how I play that reverse half guard position, and that's where I get into. Love the position. It's one of my best passing positions in competitions and in training with really good black belts. It has been for years, and again, that's where, if you want to think about the methodology of it, when I started to play with the chest-to-chest position a little bit more, it wasn't necessarily my main go-to from passing. The reverse half guard was, and so when I was looking for more options to work to slow people down, the method was try to find something that already connects to something I'm already doing. And that's just kind of a sort of a side note that you should think about when you're trying to work on new techniques. You can go completely off in a different direction, say I'm going to go over here and just work on something brand new, but it's always going to be a little bit easier if you say, well, I've already got this game down, and then if I find something over here, I can just simply connect it to it, and it's so much easier to add those types of techniques in to your game. You can do it very rapidly, opposed to having to develop like a whole new set of skills and attributes to make something else work. I hope that makes sense. And so again, the reverse half guard position, again, with the arm scoop that I've shown on the channel before. By the way, I'll just sort of end this with this. If you guys want to check out that arms race series where I showed, I don't know why I did this, where I show a lot of arm submissions, I'll put a link down below. And for a week from the time of this video posting, I'll give you a special discount on it. That'll be down in the links below. But with that said, the reverse half guard position is a position I've been good at for a long time. Added the chest-to-chest position, and now I can use those in tandem. And again, both of those are excellent positions for slowing down the action. So if you have someone that's maybe a little bit younger, a little bit more athletic than you, and maybe you're getting close to 40 like me, or maybe you're older than that, it could be a great position for you. Or if you're a younger person, again, I've used a reverse half guard position for years. If you're younger and you're rolling with someone who's just moving a lot and you don't want to move as much as them, you can put the brakes on them in that half guard position. It's very, very strong. So again, take those details I showed on poor Adam here, where I had to put him in the pressure cooker for a few minutes, and hopefully that helps you guys. And Adam?